This show is brought to you by Beco Dairy Automation. You have tuned in to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. We call it the Dairyman's source for news, ideas, information, and technology, mixed with a double dose of current market conditions. The what, the why, and the how things influence the amount of money dairy producers receive for their daily milk deliveries. We offer this daily news hour magazine as a catalyst for long-term dairy producer sustainability. We invite every dairy producer in America to get their daily dose of what can be done and what they can do to achieve and maintain profitability on their farms. $22 for 36 months is our goal. We advocate there is a way forward. We invite dairy producers to come listen, learn, and participate. This is a no-complaint zone. We talk solutions. So get out your pen and paper. And now, here's your host of the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, Mr. Tom Van Nortwick, owner of Agribusiness Publications, publisher and editor of the Agribusiness Dairyman magazine.
Good morning and welcome to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. Our thanks to Stuart for his always upbeat introduction. We selected that music a long time ago. We're not big into music, mostly news and information, but it's always fun. I've always liked that little rhythm, and it's been a blessing to us over time. Thank you and welcome. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is a production brought forward on a daily basis because of support we receive from advertisers. Our company is Agribusiness Publications. We have a dairy magazine for the last 35 years called the Agribusiness Dairyman. And while we are not the best in the West or in the East or North or South, we have a little different approach and always have had a different approach to what we think is the most important things going on in the dairy industry today. As you've heard from our introduction, our focus is largely on the markets, on what dairy producers are getting paid and knowing the ins and outs, the whys and what fors of what affects the dairy markets are, we feel, critical. And a greater emphasis needs to be placed. It always has been that way with us. We had a great opportunity because maybe in the right place at the right time with the right people to help form the National Dairy Producers Organization. We had a small hand in getting that done and relied very heavily on receiving news, information, and training from dairy producers. For crying out loud. Okay, you'll need to edit that part, Stuart. And so the effort that was expended in behalf of that organization, and it came about because Mr. Doug Maddox, a very well-known dairy producer here in California and throughout the country, a Holstein breeder par excellence, and just a great guy. We met one day in Wisconsin, of all places. I had been aware of the Maddox operation, Ruan Dairy, for many years as they were very prominent in the news for a million different reasons, all very positive. Had some difficulties with there on the farm for several years during the early 2000s. And I was listening and learning and watching through state veterinarian organizations and others who were intimately involved in helping them in that process. But one day I'm walking through exhibits at the World Dairy Expo in Madison, Wisconsin, and what a great opportunity that is. If you just had to be 3 days, 4 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, you could actually go 5 days to be somewhere. It's like being at World Ag Expo here in California, but World Dairy is a special place. And so I'm walking along. I'm in the big pavilion up in the round pavilion on the outside rings where the exhibits are. And I had just gone past the Holstein booth and had noticed that. And when out of my right ear, it literally is so defining I can remember it. And I've told the story many times, so that helps me with my short-term memory loss. Is that this voice said to someone else, "You give me enough money and there isn't a single problem I cannot solve on my dairy. But you take away my money and there isn't a single problem I can solve on my dairy." And that just, I stopped. And I turned around to see who had said that. And I waited for them to finish talking, and then we got introduced. And that began what ended up being too short a relationship, but he was gracious enough to take me around and teach me. And I tried to be where he was, and he helped me better understand what was going on and why. And finally, of course, you have to understand when this is. This is now the fall of 2009, October. So we'd been through some troublesome times, and it could have been '08 even. I'll have to get that right someday. And but anyway, it's '09. And so it is '09, and we had seen $9.36 a hundredweight for milk in California. Month in and month out, wasn't much changing. Things did finally begin to pick up. But we met regularly to determine what I might be able to do. And, of course, for me, it was just a great learning experience. It was a preparation for what we might be able to do later. And so in the course of the conversation, the many of them that I had with him, I asked the question, "Okay, Doug, he told me things I never knew. Never could have imagined what dairy producers do, how it all works, how they're tied into the co-ops and the processors, the manufacturers, who's IDFA and who's national milk producer, national milk, who was, who were the players and why, and how did they impact each other." And so I got that window from this historian, and of course they had been very much involved in the Costa-Sanders bill. Rob Vanden Heuvel of Milk Producers Council, Bill Rowell, and of course the men, largely the man behind Milk Producers Council, several, who brought forward a tremendous effort to try and get dairy producers to understand that they do need to be market responsive with their milk production. And so the reason I'm telling you this story today is because our cover story for this Friday, April the 1st, 2016, is all about the importance of what Doug said. You give me enough money, everything's fine. You take away my money, and things get really bad in a big hurry, and there's not much I can do. And that is one of the reasons why we're going to continue to push this effort, why we must do everything we can to help more producers become involved in a positive process, a collaborative process, a synergetic opportunity to increase the utilization and consumption of milk here domestically. We can and should be about the work of strengthening our own domestic market and the amount we can sell. The produced part, I'm not worried about, man. We got that down. Dairy producers can make all we could ever need. And what we need to do, all of us collectively, and from them through the media, through our marketing skills and ability, through what our relationship and a collaboration with the processors and manufacturers, is we have to get more milk consumed, more milk and milk products utilized in this country. And so we've identified some ways and have been taught by dairy producers what should and could be done. And so we use that. We didn't make this up. I say this all the time. I didn't make this up. I was taught these things. I was shown them, and for what reason, I do not know, except it is to facilitate a strengthening of dairy producers. You see, there are, this is not the end of the battles. This is just, or the end of the war. And one thing we can't do is we can't get ourselves in such a financial situation, such a depressed state, and so few in numbers over time, with such economic weakness, so as to not be able to get done what needs to be done in behalf of the producer sector. They are a very important part of the wheel, of the stool, of the chain, everything. We cannot get by without dairy producers. That ain't going to happen. We're not going to allow it to go there. And any of you out there that think that the fewer dairy producers they are, the stronger dairy producers will be, you're sorely mistaken. Dairy producers need to be strong because they are strong, because they are involved in a collaborative effort which they can dominate because they are the providers of the milk. The supply comes through the dairy producer. And if you haven't learned that yet, look at what OPEC has done to the price of oil. Well, look at what has happened as a result of the supply deciding we're going to make some changes here. We're going to do it a little different than we've ever done before. So on a daily basis, we take you to the marketplace where your milk prices are set. We have accepted the fact that will, in all likelihood, at this particular time, in the short term, and maybe even in the long term, will not be changed. The CME will be the garage sale of milk and milk products, but that garage sale, where people go to get rid of it at the lowest possible price, and they go to get rid of their junk, and people go there to buy it at the lowest possible price, well, I guess the seller would like the most they could get for it. But they're not bringing it to the CME to get the high price. They're going to the CME to move product. And people go to the garage sale of all milk to get a good deal on something they need. And unfortunately, the set price, the offers, the bids, the sales, all of that then determines what dairy producers get paid, the minimum amount they can pay you. I said that to a board member for one of the co-ops here in California earlier this week. I said, that's not what they have to pay you. That's what they can get away with paying you, the lowest possible price. So anyway, on a regular basis at this time, we'll be joining Ron O'Brien. He is a senior global strategist with Interfoods out of Florida, and he provides for us an opening to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and we'll break into that here in just a moment. You are listening to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour Magazine, your 1 hour all-dairy connection on April the 1st, 2016. We welcome you if you've just joined us and ask you to hold on while we bring up Ron and his team to walk us through the markets this morning. Sit tight. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Eva Strang, Education Coordinator for the Allied Milk Producers. Cereal and milk have always been a mainstay for breakfast, at least since 1882. That's when the first commercially manufactured cereal was made by Henry Perky. It was called shredded wheat, and it's still with us today as one of the most popular cereals. Remember, breakfast is probably the most important meal of the day, and a good breakfast includes nutritious dairy foods like milk on cereal. A good way to start the day.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoKnows.com.
All right, going off in the open here. Settlement the blocks 146 even. Barrel settle 145 and a quarter. We got no markets here to start, no bids, no offers. Hey, it's Ryland. How are you? All right, man. We got a minute. We're a minute in here. We still have nothing posted here for cheese settlement. And barrel settle 5 and a quarter. Yeah, nothing posted here. Yeah, sure. All right, 30 seconds. 46 even offer in the block by Trev. One time steady offer block. BJM buys at 146 even trade in the block. Okay, so we've got 147 even offer in the block by Trev. 10 seconds to the call here. 145 even bid in the block by BJM. 45 bid, 47 offer block. No market barrels. No the call. Post. First call. Second call. Third. 5.5 bid in the barrel by BJM. 145.5 bid in the barrel by BJM. We're up a quarter in the barrel. 146 even bid in the block by BKF. Sauce sells the barrel 145.5 to BJM. 145.5 trade barrel. 46 even bid in the block by BKF. 5.5 bid in the barrel by BKF. Nick joins the bid in the barrel at 145.5. Winner buys the block at 147 from Trev. 147 even trade block. Soft sells 2 barrels, 1 to BKF, 1 to Nick. 5.5 bid on another one here in the barrel by BKF. Nick bids 45.5 bid in the barrel. Steady bid on 2 barrels right now, 1 BKF, 1 Nick, no offers. BJM joins the bid at 145.5, 3 bid at 145.5 the barrel. 46 even bid in the block, no off. 146 even offer in the barrel by Saw. Saw maybe in here for chair. No mark in the block right now, no market. BKF is a 46 even bid in the block. Posting. First call. Second call. Soft sells 1 barrel to BKF at 145.5. Still 2 barrels bid at 45.5. Still a 46 even offer in the barrel by Saw. 146 even bid in the block still by BKF, no offer. Posting. First call. Second call. Soft sells 1 barrel at 145.5 to Nick. BJM's got the bid at 145.5 in the barrel. No offer in the barrel. Blocks 146 even bid, no offer. 5.5 bid in the barrel by Nick and BKF. So a total of 3 bid at 145.5 in the barrel. Soft sells 1 to BJM in the barrel. Still 2 bid at 145.5. 1 Nick, 1 BKF in the barrel. Blocks are up a penny all day. Barrel's up a quarter. 2 bids for the barrel. Post. First call. Second call. Third. Soft sells 2 barrels at 145.5 with the Nick with the BKF. I believe that's a total of 9 left. 45.25 bid on 1 in the barrel by BJM. And still 46 even bid in the block by BKF. Posting. First call. Second call. Third. Close. All right, so we're going to settle right there at the block at 147 even, up a penny. 2 loads traded. barrel settling at 145.5, up a quarter, 9 loads traded total in the barrel. Yeah, have a great weekend. All right, thanks. All right, peeps, once again, selling that block at 147 even, up ending with 2 loads trading, barrels selling at 145.5, up a quarter with 9 loads trading. So we're going to be back on here for non-fat and a couple few. Non-fat settle at 71.5. Do it.
All right, we're going to cut the conference call off at that point. We're getting a little trouble with their mute button on a regular basis, so that'll keep the background noise away. Welcome back to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine. My name is Tom Van Nortwick, and we are here today to, in large measure, to provide more information. We are a media company, and we have found that there are plans and opportunities afoot brought forward by dairy producers. And so from that, the learning that I explained earlier that came not only from Mr. Maddox, but from hundreds of other dairy producers that we have met, literally hundreds and hundreds, as we have had an opportunity to be in other parts of the country, from New York to Virginia to Pennsylvania to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Idaho, Utah, and more, New Mexico. You know, it's been fun. We're based in California, and so, you know, dairy's in our backyard, literally, from my home. Hundreds of dairies exist, and large dairies too. Some that are just absolutely gorgeous facilities. Some that are less modern and in their approach, still do a wonderful job with their animals. It was interesting on one particular farm I can remember going, and the facility, in my measure, you know, just sucks, you know, relative to the, I don't know, the tidiness and the stuff and the junk, and the years have come and gone. And yet as I pulled up to the corrals and looked at the animals in the loafing barns and whatnot, unbelievable conditioning on these animals. And well cared for. And I was expecting something different when I first got there. But what a wonderful job this dairyman does with his animals. I can't say much for his housekeeping, but his animals, and I'm sure that the way the milk is handled inside the barn and through the chilling process and out of the tank into the truck is just as meaningful to that individual as are his animals. And could we use some help on facility? Yeah, definitely. But the last 10 years have not been kind to dairy producers in full measure. Some have done extremely well for lots of reasons, including diversification. And that is an important part of what has sustained us. One of the dairymen, I thought one of the most brilliant things I've heard is that thank goodness for almonds and the nut industry in California over the last 10 years. Because grapes and raisins have gone up and down, cotton's gone away in California. There's been a tumult in a lot of different crops, but the nuts have kind of just bolstered everything and everybody. And so that's been a real blessing. And so that financial strength is what we're going to cover a little bit today and focus your attention on why it's important that we get back to profitability and storing away for the future dollars and cents that will sustain dairy producers. You can't continue to spiral into a less than profitable situation, business condition, business model. And so we're going to talk about the importance of making sure that dairy producers are making a profit and why in the long run that changes everything. We're going to go back now and join Ron O'Brien for the dry powder trades. His team does a great job of keeping us in tune, at least, and so we'll come back into the powder trades and then finish up the back end of the call with butter. Stay tuned. This is the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine.
Move over, Manny, Mo, and Jack. For quick, convenient auto service and no appointment needed, ask for G Express service from Gorpetti Automotive in Visalia. We'll guarantee an oil and filter change in as little as 39 minutes. And there's more. Need your tires rotated? A brake job? even a 15,000-mile service. There's no appointment necessary, and we'll guarantee your service time. G Express. It's a new level of convenience you'll only find at Grupetti Automotive.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoknows.com.
5 seconds. Steady bid on 3 loads. For the caller? 175 bid on 1 by Ash. Just on 1. Posting. First call. Second call. Third. Close. All right, they're going to settle right there at 71.75, up a quarter. No low trade, just going to Ash's 1 lot bid there at 71.75. All right, thanks, man. Have a great weekend. All right, peace. That's it.
Okay, doesn't get any shorter than that. There's our dry powder trades for the morning. We'll be easing over to butter here in just a little bit. Welcome back to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1-hour all-dairy connection. It's Friday, the first day of April 2016, and we are blessed to have a little bit of history. And so today we offer up as a little bit of a historical reference on this first day of April. In the spring of 2016, spring flush is about to arrive on this day. We've got pretty below par milk prices for dairy producers. The processors are reporting high profitability, of course, because their number one cost of input is lower than it's been in quite some time, and actually getting softer as the days and weeks progress. Spring flush will likely increase the level of milk here in the United States, which is not healthy. As we've discussed, supply is in abundance, demand has been diminished, and the last thing we need in the industry right now is more milk. And yet that's where we're going. And so we focus a great deal of attention and effort to try and help dairy producers realize that they are in charge of price. They can take that responsibility into their own hands. They don't need to abdicate it to someone else or relegate it to just whatever the market will pay them. And the way you do that, of course, is by changing the way things have been done in the past. Now, what is so important is that the opportunities for dairy producers to make more for their milk can be initiated in a couple ways, and these are ideas that were brought forward to you by dairy producers. When we formed the National Dairy Producers Organization, we spent a great deal of time writing a document called the Contract with Producers. And any of you who are political wonks in any way can kind of recognize this contract with concept, and that was taken into account way back then that the board of directors was presenting to dairy producers a contract. Now, a contract is a two-way agreement between individuals, large numbers or small numbers. It could be just one-on-one. My dad made me a contract one time. I can remember sitting down at the beginning of a summer, and there needed to be a leach line dug. And some of you may or may not know what a leach line is, but my job was we needed a new one there. We lived in the country, and it required, there wasn't going to be a backhoe ordered. There wasn't a contractor coming in. That leach line was going to be dug by me. And so Dad took the time to sit down and work out an agreement with me. This is what I'll do. If you'll do this, I'll do that. And sure enough, that's how a great deal of that summer was spent, digging this leach line. So contracts can be very small, or they can be a big deal. The contract with producers that was written in 2010, ratified in 2011 at the World Ag Expo here in California by the entire board of directors, who came to California that February, and that was a really cool. When you think about what was done, nobody really understood it outside of a very small group of people. The board members, I think, were even. I don't know that they fully understand the significance of that day. Some did, I think, but it wasn't as well received here in California and across the country at that particular time. We eventually took that message on the road and have knocked on a lot of doors, visited with a lot of dairy producers, and the National Dairy Producer Organization at one time had membership in 33 states. And I have not tracked those numbers of late. They're off on their own doing their thing, which is what they should do. It's a dairy producer-led organization, and they're very qualified in their own right to do what they're doing. And we wish them only the best, as we do all the various dairy organizations that exist in the country today. And so the big difference now is that we've kind of taken on a combination of things that we feel are based on what dairy producers and I learned in the course of implementing the agenda of the National Dairy Producers Organization. And Stuart will rely on Stuart to do our editing for us. He does a great job and preparing and presenting a better product. So we come back and start to go to work on specific agenda items within the contract with producers. And in that contract was an organization identified as Dairy Pricing, the Dairy Pricing Organization, which had an agenda of their own and had started long before the National Dairy Producers Organization. A group of dairy producers in Wisconsin had surmised that there was a problem and had then gone to work to remedy that through the establishment and then perpetuation and growth of the dairy pricing agenda. www.dairypricing.org is where you should go to learn about that. It's on our website at my-dairyman.com. It is written into the contract with producers, never to be removed, because it is the right thing to do at the right time. Always has been. But in concert with that, we will continue to teach market-driven milk production or market-responsive milk production on the farm, critical. Robin also teaches with dairy pricing that you've got to stand ready to be totally responsible for all the production of your milk and what ramifications it creates through the processing and storage. Right now, one of our biggest issues is because demand is lower and supply stays strong, not only in the United States but worldwide. Great amounts of product are being stored up. And they're being stored, and they must eventually be cleared before we're going to get price restoration. And the longer we go and the more we store, the longer it's going to take to get price. And so we really emphasize the importance of understanding that this is not going to turn. Demand has not yet returned, and even when demand does return, like it did in 9, 10, 11, 12, or actually 10, 11, 12, 13, it took 4 years of of demand restoration and growth, double-digit growth, before we got price restoration for dairy producers. Now, we're going to go back right now and join Mr. O'Brien and his team for the butter trades. Sit tight. This is the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all-dairy connection. We'll join the butter trades, and then we'll come back and finish up this little bit of a history lesson on April the 1st, 2016. Hang with us. We'll be back in a moment.
As dairy farmers watch profits slip away and a wonderful way of life painfully comes to an end for future generations, Dairy Pricing Association sees a brighter future simply by having a solution. These dairy pricing farmer members in 10 states and growing have figured out a way. Government handouts are not the answer. It's time for farmers to take matters in their own hands. Dairy Pricing Association is asking for farmers to contribute 10 cents per hundredweight to buy surplus dairy products to create a floor price, as well as helping relieve hunger in America. This is a win-win. As dairy farmers, we watch markets fluctuate as much as $4 per hundredweight in 1 month's time. 10 cents is nothing. Imagine being able to curb another 2009 scenario simply by controlling the floor price that you need as a dairy farmer to stay in business. With the dairy products that you as a dairy pricing member purchase, thousands of people are fed. No government assistance is needed. Rather, simply you as a dairy farmer are helping yourself by helping others. For more information, visit online dairypricing.org.
Are you restricting the profitability of your dairy herd? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166. Check our website at beconos.com.
No market to start, nothing posted, no bids, no offers. $45 seconds in here, still nothing posted, no bids, no offers. Minute in here, still nothing posted, no bids, no offers. $197 even offer by Trev one time. No bids here. Got about 30 seconds to the call here. One offer at 197 even by Trev. 30 seconds to the call. 190 even on one. 90 even bid on one by Mitch. 190 even bid, 197 even offer. 190 bid by Evie as well. So they got a 190 bid on two loads. One offered at 197 even by Trev. 196 even offer by Trev now. PKF buys it. 196 even trade. 190 bid on two loads here. No offer. 196 and a half offer by Trev. Posting. First call. Second call. Third. Close. All right, so going to settle right there. 196 even, up a half. One load traded.
Okay, welcome back. We've concluded the romp through the CME this morning, the garage sale of all milk and butter, powder and cheese, and, of course, what ultimately sets the price of milk paid to dairy producers across the country. Good volume in cheese this morning, and that's good. We need to see that volume move. Not much in butter. One load traded. Butter went down a half, and this is what happens every day. And so it doesn't take a lot to influence the price of milk in America. And but of course the influences down are much faster and more severe than the rate at which things rise back up to greet us at the higher prices. And so we feel it's important that you understand as a dairy producer that market responsive milk production can make a huge difference in this country. And when we talk about percentages, now we've talked about the contract with producers a little bit. Everyone should read that. There's 20 items in there that are recommended that need to be agenda items that need to be resolved and checked off the list. We've got them. We're working on them. We're making progress in this direction. We're accomplishing this and that. And there's lots of those things, including not only the implementation and fully funding dairy pricing, but everything from what are we doing about imports? What are we doing about our Semitic cell counts? Are we collectively, aggressively pursuing lower Semitic cell counts? We've initiated in our 2020 agenda an 80,000 or bust program. 80,000. We won't elaborate on that today, but we're going to be talking about that as the days and weeks go by. 80,000 or bust is what, and why? Because it's possible. It's being done. And there is no reason not to do it nationwide. It's going to make a difference. It makes a huge difference in the milk. And so we're going to go that way. We'll find a way, and we'll help find a way. But as Doug said, you can take away my money, and there isn't anything I can do. There isn't any problem I can solve. And so the contract with producer identifies, you could say they're problems, but they're initiatives or recommendations for change that would have a big impact. And, of course, our primary focus is the sustainability of dairy producers, but you can't do that without sustainability of processors, manufacturers, co-ops, and the other entities which constitute today's dairy industry. Are there some things we would change and eliminate? I don't know yet. I really don't think so. A processor's got to be profitable. Shippers got to be profitable. The producers got to be profitable. The feed guys got to make a living. All of these things come into play. There's got to be water, and there's got to be clean water. There's got to be good stewards over what do we do with the waste, the runoff, and how is it handled? And what about the care and keeping of animals? Critical in today's world. It's got to be picture perfect in today's world. And so we have an initiative within the 2020 agenda that identifies the need to be picture perfect. And what does that mean? And how can we convey that? We've got to be ever more conscious of the consumer's concerns. And you can't solve consumer concerns by going closed door, by hiding things, by covering stuff up, or attempting to, even the attempt. Remember Watergate. What got him in the most trouble was the cover-up. It wasn't that it happened, or the fact that it was funded. Oh, big deal. Big deal. Where'd the money come from? You ever wonder about that? There's an interesting few stories about that. But anyway, the cover-up is what gets you in trouble. We got to tell the truth. But we've got to be ahead of it. We've got to be ahead of the problems or the potential problems. Food safety is a big issue. Talk to Chipotle about food safety in the 21st century. And so that could be the death knell for that company. It could be. And so food safety and maintaining the integrity of the food chain in dairy, and the importation of products helter-skelter without regulations in place that monitor and assure that we've got, that we've got that same degree of safety in everything that enters the U.S. food stream. Top to bottom, every day, all the time. And so those are identified concerns in the contract with the producers in the 2020 agenda. And so one of the things that was strongly identified is that, okay, so what can we do about demand? And what are we doing about the imbalance between supply and demand? The reality is that we could be 6 points off. I have a feeling that it's probably closer to 4 but we could be as high as 6% upside down. We're certainly off 6 to 8% in total milk utilization domestic. I mean, that we produce domestically, because our global demand has dropped so dramatically. And so that has constituted as much as 17% of our national production. Okay? And it was largely camouflaged. Our double-digit growth for global products, in the sale of global products outside of this country, where U.S. milk and milk products was sold somewhere else outside this country, the double-digit growth that we experienced in 10, 11, 12, and 13 was largely camouflaged by the fact that dairy producers won't be market responsive with their milk production, and they just made too much milk, even though we were having strong growth in demand. They were still oversupplying the marketplace, and therefore did not get very positive results in the amount of money they got paid for their milk during that period of time. And then things changed in 14. 13 was a rough year, relatively speaking. High feed costs, remember? Alfalfa was through the roof, corn was through the roof, and so we had high feed costs, and so the cost of inputs was higher than it's ever been before, record levels. And so everybody was on their heels a little bit, and the growth in milk production domestically dropped. Now, we didn't actually reduce total production, but the growth rate shrunk. And what happened in 14? When the growth rate shrunk even, probably 2 or 3%. Boom. Record milk prices for dairy producers. Record milk prices. Not just good, not just wonderful, record. And why? Because unconsciously, milk producers were market responsive in their milk production on the farm. Now, a lot of things have happened since then, including political unrest because of Russia and the trade barriers which have been put in place, and the retaliation by Russia, the backing out of the market by China for who knows all the reasons. Nobody really does. I read it all, and nobody really fully understands where they are and what they're doing. But one thing's for sure, they're pursuing an agenda to get more milk onto the tables and into the homes of their more than 1 billion people. And they've identified in this last 12 months a plan to allow couples to have 2 children. Not just 1, 2. Big deal. Over time. Everybody thought the milk prices were going to go crazy. Well, you know what? The baby's not born yet, you guys. Not yet. No. There are no babies born after that announcement yet. I have to go back and look. We need to put that on the calendar. Because, whoa, baby time. Well, it still takes 9 months for the baby to be born. And then you need more formula. And you need more diapers. And there's going to be a lot of young women, and even 30-something to 40-something women who will give birth to a child in 2016, 2017. Boom. It's going to be a big deal. And that's exciting. More children are more better. It has always been so in our home. And so we look forward to that, anticipate that. But guess what? It's not here yet. And we don't need it stored up now waiting for those babies to come. So we get a wonderful 14. And, of course, what dairy producers did was they chased that milk price with more production to capitalize on, let's get all the milk in there we can at these high prices. And unfortunately, they did 2 things. Number one, more milk production, we talked about yesterday, will shorten the high cycle. It won't, the weeks and months will go by, but it won't be as many weeks and months as we'd like it to be, because when you chase price with milk production, you will shorten the high cycle. You will shorten it. It won't be as protracted over a longer period of time as it would be if you just simply stopped increasing milk production when prices rise. Just keep making good milk and enjoying the benefit of a high price. Because what we need, and this is the big point of the cover story today, is we need a protracted period of time of profitable earnings for dairy producers to set aside necessary savings and dollars and paying of old debt so that dairy producers can sustain themselves and even prosper. There's a lot of facilities I know here in California that need to be remodeled, that need to be revamped. I have a word for it that I may think of in this call. I don't know if I will. But anyway, it's repairs of services and implementation of new technology or innovation that could take place as long as, like Doug said, you have enough money, because these things take money. Solar, methane digesters, or even just new hoses inside the barn, pumps, motors, tanks, milking machines, the parlor. All these things could be enhanced and improved, but it takes millions, not just a few, but millions and millions of dollars. And so we advocate that what would be the best thing we could do, and that's why we've set the goal. We didn't just dream that up, 22 for 36. 22 for 36 is not only possible, but it's dang necessary. You don't need 22 for 12 or 22 for 5 or 22 for 11 or 15. You need to count on 22 all the time going forward. How do you stabilize milk price? You balance supply and demand. It's that simple. And don't tell me you can't. That is hogwash. The reality is, if you wanted to, you would. And can. But that's how you take out volatility. Volatility prospers no one from the dairy producer down. Nobody. The only people that are benefited are those that can buy your milk at half price. So figure it out. Who are you really trying to help, and who benefits most from their number one commodity being half price? And then follow the money. Now, what's the numbers? The numbers are 6% too much milk right now. I think let's just say that's the number. It could be 4, but it's probably 6. I don't think it's 8 right now. But 6 is a good number. And so you want price restoration? Drop milk production in the United States 2% a month until it comes. And let's just test it. Theoretically, for 6% over, how long would it take to test it? This isn't that tough. Now, what we've got to do also, and we advocate in the 2020 agenda, is that you've got to increase utilization and consumption of milk in America. And there's a lot of neat ways to do that, and Chipotle proved it. You get innovative. You give better taste, more nutrition. That's what the market wants right now. They want better taste and more nutrition. And you've got the ability to deliver it nationwide through the fortification of milk to standards that have been set and led by the state of California and its dairy producers. Why? Because it tastes better. Why? Because it's more nutritious. That's where we start. It's the right thing to do for our children, our young adults, for those of us in the middle, and for our seniors that are 60 and older. Because it provides for them the nutrients in an affordable manner that they want and need. And there are products out there that have even done a more aggressive job. Fairlife is a fortified milk drink. A little pricey compared to what you can buy on the shelf, but it's way better than everything else east of California. Way better. Nutritionally, protein. They take out the lactose. They're working on identifying the segment of the market and marketing that product to people who could be lactose intolerant. A2 milk is coming and growing. Interesting A2. And we'll talk more about that in the future. But also, dairy pricing comes in and has identified a means for dairy producers and the industry to address the fact that a full 20% of our population, 1 in 5, do not get to make a choice about dairy in their meal plan today. There's no dairy on the breakfast table. There's no dairy on the lunch table. There's no dairy in the dinner menu. Or certainly not adequate levels of it, and in many cases none. Dairy pricing identified that when we have excess, we are to impart, commanded actually, to impart of our excess. They don't quote this. Maybe I've added that. I don't know, but I believe in it. I know it's true. We are commanded in all things to give of our excess to the poor and the needy, to those who are less fortunate, even an extra coat in the closet, and then all will be blessed, is the promise. I don't know about you, but we could use some blessings. And so we've got excess. What do we have excess? We have excess butter. We have excess powder. We have excess milk. We have excess cheese. And we're storing it up to our detriment. It's hurting 45,000 dairy producers nationwide because of the excess. And so dairy pricing teaches you've got to take full responsibility of that. If you made the milk and it's now sitting in a storehouse, you're just as responsible for what happened at the beginning or what's going to happen in the end. That's what's taught. And this is a learned thing for dairy producers. The whole thing is you're responsible for, or you need to take responsibility for. You can't just keep selling discounted cheese and butter on a global market and expect that to fix things. It creates disappearance, but it creates disappearance at the lowest possible price. And at what price? CWT is a nice idea, clears out a lot of cheese and butter, but at what price? See, that isn't healthy for your processor or your manufacturer. They need to make a profit too. If you over make the milk and it has to be stored, then you should take responsibility for that. And the price you have to pay to clear the market is not the discounted price. If you want price to be 22 for 36, then you've got to be buying the cheese and the butter, creating the disappearance at a price level that sustains that pay price of milk for a dairy producer. And anything less than that is wrong. It's foolhardy. It's just not going to work. But it will also teach you guys over time that it's a whole lot cheaper to not make too much milk, to be market responsive with your milk production, balance supply and demand on as much as you can on the front end. We realize you can't do it all the time, and those breaks are hard to apply. You can't start and stop a cow. Got it. Please don't tell me that again. I'll know I'll hear it, and it'll be fine. I'll love you for it. I understand that. But good grief. We've been 2 years in this crash, and you guys have yet to be market responsive. California, to some degree, a few of the states, many of them are down. But you're not down in total milk. You're just not growing as fast. Your growth rate is not as high. We cannot afford any growth at all right now, and recommend wholeheartedly 2% drop per month in total milk production in this country until we get price restoration. Now, the last but not least is that we are going to venture into not only getting that food to the poor and the needy, but eventually developing that as a vital market to expand fortification of milk, expand utilization, getting milk and milk products into the menus of 1 in 5 Americans and maybe even 1 in 4 that are impacted by the fact that they cannot afford dairy products in their menu, or the mechanisms that feed them in this country today cannot afford to put dairy on the menu. And so we think the high-quality dairy products that we have not only are the best source of protein, nutrients, and just good food available today. And we're going to work together in a collaborative effort with the processors, the co-ops, the manufacturers, the retailers. Everybody possible needs to pony up and help these organizations who feed these people, our neighbors, our brothers and sisters, probably even some family members who need assistance in one way or another, a hand up, not a hand out, but a hand up by making sure that we're getting better nutrition on their table, into their menus. And why? Because in the long run, it's just plain cheaper. It's cheaper than the healthcare costs that we are going to incur or are incurring as a direct result of poor nutrition, lackluster nutrition. When dairy and the products that come from the farm could provide an excellent source of nutrition, protein, and nutrient to that segment of the marketplace, which, by the way, are fully dependent on the government for their health care. So why wouldn't we invest? Wouldn't it make sense to invest in better nutrition than expanded health care? I mean, health care is difficult enough, but we don't need to, we don't need to make it tougher because we have not prior proper planned. There's an old saying we always use: prior proper planning prevents poor performance. And so in this case it would. And then last but not least, we're going to have to find a way to prevent dairy producers from being dumped on in this concept of chasing global, and that the dairy industry is global, and that dairy producers should receive the global price for your milk. No. The answer is no. The answer is heck no. That's not the way it should be. Can we benefit from global? Yes. But we're going to have to create, and Doug, Mr. Maddox recommended it, I think after all the thinking and thought, and there's going to have to be more put into this, that there would be a Class 5. You can make more milk. Some of you have the ability to make unlimited amounts of milk, but dadgummit, we should not have it crap on, pardon my language, but that's what it does. Floor, put in the toilet the price of domestic milk for domestic consumption. There is nothing broken in the domestic demand for milk in the United States. It is not broken. It's improving. We're going to continue to push it so it will improve, and that's why fortification, and that's why getting these food products onto the plates and menus of fully 1/4 of our population is good for dairy. Increased utilization, increased consumption is good for dairy. And frankly, that number is could impact a 30% growth in the consumption and needed production of milk in America if we play this right. And if we ease into it day by day, week by week, and stop wasting tremendous resources, unbelievable resources, on this foolhardy game of overproduction. And do not let the industry price domestic consumption global. It's wrong. It's worth more than that. The milk's worth more than that. It's worth more to the consumer. Nobody died or stopped drinking milk or eating cheese or ice cream or butter or anything else in 2014. Those prices, do we need 26, 28? No, but we got to get 22 for 36. That's where we're going. We're going to prove that's possible, and we're going to show you how to get there. It's not that we've got to, show you. I should say that we're not going to show you. We're going to help identify what it is dairy producers have organized in your behalf, and then we need you to step up and get involved. Take a full measure of responsibility for everything that affects you most in the dairy industry. That's what this is all about. That's what this message is to you. And we don't need to teach you how to make better milk. You do great, great work. Care and keeping of animals, the farm, the environment. We're going to have to do a better job of helping everybody else understand what it is you do, and we got a plan for that too. It's coming. We're going to be on the farms. We're going to knock on the door, and we're going to tell your story, because it's a great story and it needs to be heard. But that's how we solve these problems. That's how we bridge between consumer and producer. That's how we get the consumers on our side. They've got to help us because government's not going to. Don't think you can go to these legislators. If we never saw another one again, who cares? They're not doing anything. They gave you margin protection insurance. They took away everything else, and they're gone. So fine, good riddance to them. Now, figure it out on your own. Dairy producers already have done that. There is a segment of the dairy producer industry which is very much in tune and has the brain power it takes to to come up with the needed solutions. The hard part, the real magic of this is going to be in the implementation of these great ideas. And so how do we do that? Well, we've got a plan. And we'll talk more about that as we go along. There's our history lesson for April 1st, 2016. This has been the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, providing a way forward. We meet every day here at 8:30 in the morning in the Pacific time, at 11:30 in the East, and you can do your math for the Mountain and the Midwest. But come and find us. You'll find us on YouTube, Facebook, on our website at my-dairyman.com. These things are posted on a regular basis. We have a magazine called the Agribusiness Dairyman magazine, and we encourage you to read it and to regularly listen to and follow these things that are coming to you, yes, through us, but from dairy producers, from men and women who have devised a different way forward. And some of this old garbage has just got to go away, this old mentality that fewer producers is better. Fewer cows is better, but not fewer producers. We don't need to feed as many faces right now. We don't. It makes no sense to feed good alfalfa to more cows than necessary at this time. Corn, feed, etc. It all costs you. You're the one paying to bring the milk forward to sell at a price you can't profit from. That does not make sense to us. So there you got it. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a good week. We've got a lot more work to do today before the sun sets, and we'll be about that, and we'll be back on Monday with more news. Sorry we didn't get you a lot of news today, but it's not all that great right now anyway, and there's nothing. I looked it over, and you know what? You're doing fine right where you are. What we thought we'd bring you instead was today's cover story, which is a historical perspective, and we'll keep this one available so others can hear it as time. And feel free to share these things. You can share us on Facebook. You can get this out to other people, and we encourage you to do that. Well, enough said for one day. Goodbye. Everyone be safe. We're back here on Monday on, let's see, 2, 3, on the 4th. Wow, it'll be the 4th of April, 2016. Have a safe weekend. Bye-bye.
Imagine life without cheese. Okay, it's a horrible thought, but we're only pretending. Pasty pizzas, blah burritos, colorless casseroles, the mind boggles. Cheese transforms the eating experience. It can be creamy or crumbly, sharp or sweet, hot and gooey, or room temperature. With hundreds and hundreds of different varieties, cheese can really add zing to your meals. Behold the power of cheese, presented by the Allied Milk Producers.
Pico Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us at 1-800-344-7166.
To learn or hear more, please join us for our daily News Hour magazine, your 1-hour all-dairy connection. It is broadcast live every morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific and 11:30 a.m. Eastern. You can join the broadcast by calling 712-432-0900. Your conference PIN number is 666632#, or you can listen to the recorded call by dialing 712-432-0990, using your same PIN number for personal access. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. We truly believe you need to and can know more. Our job is to deliver more knowledge to dairy producers, believing that if knowledge is power, then applied knowledge is nuclear power. We'll see you on the call.